been as a young person in this industry who has no filter and no idea.
Inside Disney's Snow White fiasco, threats, beefed up security, and a social media guru to shut her up.
And to everyone who hates when I win, the winged victory came to the Louvre in pieces.
Now that Snow White has turned into a total disaster, Galado's silence is finally over, and Rachel Zegler started crying. G supposedly points fingers at Rachel, who is in the spotlight. In reality, what took place? Was Rachel only the convenient victim of a much bigger disaster, or did she actually harm the movie? Let's analyze the drama, the culpability, and the entire scenario, since this failure has now become personal. Rachel Zegler's biggest dread has finally materialized. Although Snow White's failure had long been anticipated by fans, Rachel most likely didn't expect Gadot to blame her at the time. As if things couldn't get any worse, the producer's own son has joined the outcry, accusing Rachel of having a narcissistic personality and explicitly blaming her for the disaster. She is going broke and woke again. When narcissist Gadot got her star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, it was a historic occasion. But guess who wasn't present? The absence of Rachel's lure stunned a lot of people. Others think Disney purposefully kept them separate, as they supposedly did during press appearances, while others say Rachel didn't want to face the girl. Fans are now assured that her absence from the event did not go unnoticed, even if no one truly understands why. The Snow White co-star's alleged animosity was quickly brought up by fans, and missing the event only made it worse. They had a genuine falling out, and Variety released a shocking expose on Tuesday that purportedly revealed behind the scenes the drama between Rachel and Gal was finally revealed. According to insiders, Rachel and Gal got along well during filming, with no major drama or bad blood. But as the release date of Snow White drew nearer, things started to get strange. It began after the Oscars on March 2nd, when a fan asked if Rachel and Gal were presenting together. Rachel responded on Instagram that calling Gal a professional pageant queen was not a great look, which offended many people. Some called it shady, while others saw it as downright disrespectful. Disney intervened, keeping Rachel and Gal apart during the press tour, but instead of putting an end to the rumors, it only strengthened fans' conviction that something was amiss. Then came the LA premiere on March 15th. Insiders say that at that point, Disney had already given up hope that the film could overcome the massive backlash it had been facing, because Rachel and Gal didn't even sit together. They didn't even pose together. In fact, Rachel sat 2 rows ahead of Gal and her family, and the tension was actually real. If there are no seats in the theater, Snow White's beginnings isn't very good. Screenshots of aisles and rows of unsold tickets from ticket apps are all over social media, and some fans have even posted images of almost empty theaters during performances. People simply aren't coming up, according to Rachel Zegler's critics. It's a rough look, however, for a film that was already drawing a lot of criticism. To assist Snow White recover its massive expense, some critics are even joking that someone need to establish a foundation. As we all know, many people were happy to see a Latina actress play the renowned Disney princess. Therefore, Rachel Zegler's casting as Snow White brought her initial fame, but not for the ideal reasons. However, the drama didn't stop there. Since the fight between Rachel Zegler and Gadot caught people off guard, Rachel is directly responsible for the blame game that has begun since the movie's box office failure. After someone called his father scary as hell on Instagram, Jonah Platt, the son of Snow White producer Mark Platt, publicly denounced Rachel, saying that her political comments and conceited behavior had ruined the movie. Rather than keep Isam quiet, Jonah retaliated by saying that his father had gone across the country to respond to Rachel's allegations. Jonah argues that even though she had a multi-million-dollar deal, she caused unnecessary controversy when the movie was being promoted. Jonah swiftly put an end to those who protected her by claiming that she had the right to free speech, saying that this freedom does not let you to say anything at work without consequences, especially when millions of dollars are involved.
You can start out with the creative bankruptcy of remaking another animated classic instead of making something new. But yes, it's all Rachel Zegler and her behavior. And if it was just one comment, it probably would have been forgotten by now. But it was comment after comment, and it was pissing off everybody, pissing off old Disney fans, pissing off new Disney fans, pissing off Trump supporters, pissing off all of America. And it became such a disaster that they had to shut her up, which was the smartest move they made. But the onus is all on her and Disney's reaction to it. And quite frankly, if she had said nothing, her movie, probably still forgettable, would have done a lot better.
Even Disney insiders were shocked by what Gadot did next. But since Snow White was already experiencing problems, we had to go back in time to discover how it got to this point. It was made worse by Rachel Zegler's turmoil off-screen. The video had just achieved a noteworthy milestone of 120 million views in a single day in August 2024, just after a great triumph. But as soon as Rachel tweeted "Free Palestine," the reaction was swift. Disney officials were worried, and things became much worse when Gadot, who is Israeli, was the target of hate speech on the internet. Disney reportedly stepped up Gal's security in retaliation. According to Variety insiders, animosity with the studio escalated because Rachel failed to see the repercussions of her conduct. Even after producer Mark Platt came to New York to see Rachel face to face, Rachel refused to take down the post, claiming she was too progressive. When Gal made a move that left everyone in shock, the situation apparently got so bad that Disney had to engage private protection for Rachel too. The toe-curlingly bad live-action adaptation has done so poorly at the box office that even Paul Tassi had to admit it, considering Gadot's 2 years as an instructor in the Israeli Defense Forces. Although the threats were real and she is a mother of 4, Disney didn't make the decision to bolster her security lightly. This was only one part of a much bigger problem. Snow White, which was supposed to be a modern adaptation of a classic, became one of the studio's most controversial movies, and things only got worse from there. Rachel's disagreement with Disney was getting worse, especially when she kept expressing politically sensitive opinions. Rachel even criticized Donald Trump and his supporters as Disney scrambled to find a solution after the U.S. presidential election. They brought in a social media expert to manage her profiles, but it was too late. Snow White only grossed $87 million at the box office, while having a $270 million budget. Disney suffered a terrible setback, and this suggests that their live-action remakes might not be as popular as they previously were. Speaking to a variety of individuals earlier this month, Gadot discussed the increasing hostility on the internet and said that many find it hard to express themselves since there is so much hate and so many bots. Rachel Zegler sparked controversy with her interpretation of the original Snow White footage in addition to her article on Palestine's freedom. Rachel even accused the prince of stalking, calling the story out of date. She advocated for a more modern rendition, saying the 1937 classic felt really antiquated.
Snow White is different, and it's more of a 2022 version of Snow White. What did you mean by that?
I mean, the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Weird. I'm sure a lot of people will assume it's a love story just because, we cast a guy in the movie, Andrew Burnap, great dude. Yeah. All of Andrew's scenes could get...
Rachel shared behind-the-scenes pictures from the opening day, but the Gadot wasn't in any of them. She totally ignored her co-star who played the evil queen and instead gave compliments to the crew and a few members of the supporting cast. She posted sincere remarks describing it as a transformative experience and even asserting that the movie was the most popular in the world. But the public didn't believe it, as seen by the falling box office receipts and the quiet Gadot. Disney is clearly done playing nice, and the consequences of this mistake are only beginning to unfold, regardless of whether you think Rachel is being unfairly punished or whether she caused this herself. They have discreetly moved away and left Rachel to deal with the criticism on her own, without making any public remarks or showing any support.